This is either going to be Diddy's best move or his worst move yet. We are talking about Diddy's most recent lawsuit where he is suing NBC for defamation. And we all know what defamation means. It means that he is accusing NBC of lying on him or letting people get on the show and lie on him, and that NBC actually knew they were lying or they had a reckless disregard to whether these people were lying or not. And NBC still decided to post the documentary anyways. We are talking about Diddy, the making of Bad Boy, a documentary that came out, I believe, in January of this year, basically telling the story of Diddy. As y'all know, we've been covering it on this channel. Diddy is under heat for criminal charges for SA. We got racketeering charges. We got drug sales. We got making people take drugs without permission. We got making people engage in sexual activity without permission, and also potentially while they're drugged. He's facing all of these allegations. And in the middle of him facing all of these allegations, multiple people are filing on civil lawsuits against him. He has that criminal case pending against him, which now has a superseding indictment. And Diddy decides that he's going to start suing people himself, okay? He is suing NBC for defamation. The question is, do we believe that NBC is defaming him? Or do we think that Diddy also might be guilty here? Now, I will say one thing and one of my thoughts before we get to the end of the stream, and we'll talk about my thoughts a little bit more. The things that he is suing for defamation are probably like the least of our concern. I know it's going to be talking about murder and things of that nature, but also those are not the real serious allegations as far as the civil suits that are what we're really focusing on. So I would really love to see if the people are going to feel bad for Diddy as we go through these allegations in which Diddy is saying that he did not do. I want you, Diddy, to come out and say you didn't do the stuff that people are suing you for. And I'm going to tell y'all right now, I'm going to give you a spoiler alert. He does not do that. So we're going to jump into it, but also we have an update on the Jay-Z and Diddy lawsuit where he was being accused, Diddy and Jay-Z were being accused of SA-ing a young girl. So let's go ahead and talk about that update. And then we're going to jump into this new lawsuit that Diddy has filed from behind bars. What's up, that happened? And of course, y'all know we streaming live stream, and I forgot to share the screen. So let me get the live stream things together. Go ahead and share the screen for the next thing that we have coming up, and then we'll go ahead and jump into Jay-Z. So we covered the Jay-Z lawsuit last week where we were talking about motions to dismiss. Bad Boy LLC was dismissed a couple weeks ago. And then we were talking about Jay-Z filing another motion to dismiss, basically saying that this plaintiff does not have a claim. And the crazy thing that is coming forward, in my opinion, okay, this is my opinion, is that people think that this Jay-Z and Diddy lawsuit was dismissed because they didn't do it, okay? Now, we covered the motion to dismiss last week, the most recent motion to dismiss last week that Jay-Z filed. And the majority of the motion to dismiss was not the fact that they didn't do it. Yeah, he sprinkled that in there here and there. He didn't really focus on that because he's already gotten shut down by the judge multiple times about being like, look, this is just the complaint stage. We can't dismiss it because you don't agree with the facts that the plaintiffs put forward. We need evidence, we need discovery done, and then we need to have a trial to determine whose facts are the correct facts. But his reasoning, if y'all can remember, let me know if you're watching live, if you're watching on the replay, let us know in the chat. If you can remember why he was asking for it to be dismissed. The main reason why he was asking for it to be dismissed was because the statute of limitations had already passed. And it did not reopen the window for them to be able to file the claim. And then they had a brief failure to state a claim because of the things that she was alleging happened, facts that can be proven on judicial notice. Those things can be proven false. And they were asking the court to dismiss the claims against Jay-Z and Diddy for those reasons. Well, really, they were asking just for Jay-Z, but help a brother out, help his friend out, dismiss those claims. We don't have any information on why this plaintiff, remember, this is the lawsuit where the 13-year-old girl is accusing Diddy and Jay-Z of SA and her back in 2000 with another celebrity female in the room while it was going down. She had her dad drive 6 hours to pick her up, all of the things, right? It's just being dismissed. We don't have any information as to why it's dismissed. We don't know whether there was a settlement. We don't know any of those things. But what I would guess is that it was dismissed because Tony Busby probably realized, yeah, I don't have a claim. Yeah, the statute of limitations have expired. Yeah, they are correct. So instead of wasting more of my time and my money trying to bring this lawsuit against Diddy and Jay-Z, let me go ahead and drop it. The other thing that I would find interesting is if Jay-Z decides to continue with his lawsuit against Busby directly. Remember, let's not forget, there is a case in California of Jay-Z suing Busby for basically trying to extort him. That case is still open to my knowledge. I will go look into it to see if it's still open, but I am interested to see if that case still goes forward or if it just kind of disappears and fly under the radar, because maybe this dismissal and this settlement had something to do with Busby saying, hey, look, I know I'm probably going to be under hot water. And these are just my thoughts, y'all. Take it with a grain of salt. Okay. I know I might be in hot water for filing this lawsuit, not checking the statute of limitations, whether the window reopened when the Adult Survivors Act, when that window reopened, and when the gender motivated violence actions, when that window reopened. I know I'm probably under fire with my client on this, but can y'all please dismiss this lawsuit and maybe, I'll make sure I won't file one against you again. There might have been some kind of deal that we don't know what that deal was. So I'm interested to learn if there was some kind of deal, but maybe there wasn't some kind of deal, right? But yeah, that is what happened. We will not be covering the Jay-Z versus Diddy, the 13-year-old girl with Busby versus Jay-Z and Diddy and Jay-Z fighting the big fight while Diddy is behind the bars, which again, I think is a bit ridiculous that Diddy filed his own lawsuit pending these criminal charges. And he says that these things don't have nothing to do with what's going on in the criminal case. But what if those things do get into the criminal case? I think his lawyers are messing up on that, but we'll jump into it. Anyways, Jay-Z and Diddy lawsuit from the 13-year-old girl has been dismissed with prejudice, meaning that they cannot bring it back. So we will not see this lawsuit pop up again. I'm going to check in on the extortion lawsuit in California to see if that case is also being dropped or if it's going to be continuing. But I am not comfortable saying that Jay-Z has cleared his name. I think that is dismissed on technicalities, and y'all can let me know if y'all agree or not, or if y'all think that they're innocent and that's why they dismissed it. We got to remember the main purpose behind the motion to dismiss was not because they were saying that it never happened. They're just saying it's impossible for it to happen. Similar to what we're going to get into Diddy's new lawsuit. I don't think it clears his name either. So let's go ahead and have Bossy B bring us into Diddy's new lawsuit. Y'all, if y'all watching live, don't forget to hit the like button. If you're on the replay, also hit the like button. And if you're live, make sure you are commenting and letting me know your thoughts on the case. So if you missed the beginning of the live stream or the opening, you know that, or you don't know, we are covering Diddy's lawsuit that he has filed against NBC Universal Media, Peacock, and Ample LLC and Ample Entertainment for the documentary that they recently put out where, all his ex-girlfriends were coming and say all the bad things that he did against him. All these other people were saying bad things that he did against them, the bad things that he did against others, conspiracy theories, all of the things, right? Because Diddy is saying it's not true. But what I find interesting about Diddy saying it's not true is that he only focuses on things that are important, yes, dangerous, yes, but they're not the main focus of the lawsuits that have been coming out against him. And as I briefly mentioned earlier, I think it's going to bite him in the butt because he states that this doesn't have anything to do with the criminal charges pending against him, was why he's filing this lawsuit. Remember, we've been talking about in all the other civil lawsuits, he's not coming forward and talking in those lawsuits. That's why Jay-Z was, in my opinion, Jay-Z was handling the other lawsuit that named him, because Diddy can't really say anything because he's going to invoke that Fifth Amendment. He has criminal charges pending. And there could be more superseded indictments brought in based on some of these civil lawsuits that have been filed against him. Those kind of things can happen. So I think he's smart in being quiet in the civil lawsuits, but I don't think he's that smart for filing this civil lawsuit basically saying they're lying. Because guess what you have to do, Diddy, to prove that you're not lying? Or to prove that they're lying. You have to prove you're not lying, right? You didn't do those things. And some of these things can still be brought against you with charges criminally. So let's jump into not Jay-Z. We're not talking about Jay-Z anymore. His lawsuit has been dismissed. He's not cleared for the allegations. He's cleared because I think that they didn't have a case based on technicalities, okay? And also, I don't know if that plaintiff was really telling the truth. But anyways, let's jump into the new lawsuit with Diddy. And y'all, please bear with me. I am catching a cold. Lucky me to be catching a cold and getting sick, right? Again. So, we got to actually share the document, Bree. There we go. Okay. So we have this lawsuit, Sean Combs against Universal and all the other entertainment platforms that put this documentary out. Diddy starts off strong. For nearly a century, NBC has been a trusted name in news, a leader in broadcasting important stories to citizens, and depending on reputable media, and a leader in broadcasting important stories to citizens who depend on reputable media to stay informed, grossly exploiting the trust and shamelessly capitalizing on the public's insatiable appetite for content about Mr. Combs in the lead up to the criminal trial. Defendant made a conscious decision to line their own pockets at the expense of truth, decency, and basic standards of professional journalism. So they're saying that they put this documentary out for a quick buck. Isn't that just shameful, right? If these things are true that Diddy is saying. The question is, do we believe Diddy? That's the question that we have to remind ourselves of, right? In January 2025, racing to outdo the competition for the most salacious Diddy expose, defendants must maliciously and recklessly broadcast an outrageous set of fresh lies and conspiracy theories in a purported documentary they called Diddy, The Making of Bad Boy, the documentary. Defendants accuse Mr. Combs of horrible crimes, including serial murder and SA of minors, knowing that there is not a shred of evidence to support them. Now, this is where I think Diddy starts to mess up for me. He keeps saying there's no evidence. There's no evidence. People basically haven't been able to prove their case yet. The civil cases have not gone to trial yet. So he keeps saying there's no evidence. You guys are going to notice that throughout that in this document, it's a theme that there is no evidence. There is no evidence. There is no evidence. That don't mean it's not true. Just because we haven't gotten the evidence out to the public yet, right? There's some discovery that needs to be done, right? That you're probably going to delay because you're behind bars. Come on, dude. As one independent critic observed after the documentary aired, it's remarkable that filmmakers were able to get this thing past the corporate counsel at NBC Universal. For example, the documentary maliciously accuses Mr. Combs of unaliving the love of his life and mother of his children, Kimberly Porter, despite the fact that the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office has confirmed that her death was from natural causes and that there has never been any evidence of foul play. Now, notice what he does here. There's no evidence of foul play. Everyone that they accuse Diddy of unaliving is that it made it look natural other than Biggie. They say he also has something to do with Biggie's unaliving. But all the other ones you will notice, they're like heart conditions. We're talking about pneumonia. We're talking about there was two heart conditions and then pneumonia and then of course the drive-by for Biggie. Most of them are not going to show evidence, right? Because the intent is to make it look like it was natural causes, allegedly. So we're in it a little bit. Is anybody feeling like Diddy is innocent at this point? He's trying to say, these are the things that they are saying wrong about me. I didn't SA minors because there's no evidence. Remember, these cases have not gone to trial yet. So how do we know that there's no evidence? And the unaliving of people. And he's starting off with Kim Porter. And of course, these conspiracies have been out there for a while. And Diddy's basically saying that since they are conspiracies, or he believes them to be conspiracies, they should have never published the information, right? Okay. The documentary advances the false narrative that it cannot be a coincidence that Miss Porter and others in Combs' orbit have died in a malicious attempt to insinuate that Mr. Combs unalived them. In support, the documentary features YouTube channel clips from unknown conspiracy theorists strung together with anonymized YouTube comments speculating about the purported coincidence. By maliciously advancing the unhinged narrative that Mr. Combs is a serial killer with absolutely no evidence or logic to stand on in the face of the clear evidence to the contrary, defendants spread fake news of the most damaging kind. So again, they're basically insinuating, they're not coming straight out and saying it, but that could also be considered to be defamatory as well. Just because you're not coming out and saying it does not necessarily, you're making us draw the conclusion that you're thinking that Diddy did something, and he's saying that's what NBC wants the people to believe when watching the documentary. Okay. The documentary also accuses Mr. Combs of having adult activities with minors, based entirely on a false claim by an anonymous interviewee that he saw two girls follow Mr. Combs into a room, and his groundless speculation that for sure they were underage. The story, upon information and belief, rehashed from a baseless lawsuit seeking $30 million, has already been discredited by those adult women in their 30s referenced in a lawsuit who have come forward to say that they were adults at the time. And again, how do we know we're just basing it on looks? And if you're referring to one incident by saying that you don't have inappropriate relations with minors, and you're basing it on one incident, and they can prove that you have had other inappropriate relationships with minors, that they're not going to be found to be defamatory. So I don't know why he's doing this to himself. I do not know why he's doing this to himself. In making and broadcasting those falsehoods, among others, the defendant seeks only to capitalize on the public's appetite for scandal without any regard for the truth at the expense of Mr. Combs' right to a fair trial. So yes, we understand you still have the criminal case going on, but people are still going to have things to say. You can't stop the people from having things to say. This lawsuit is brought in New York, and so let's go ahead and jump into deeper into the facts that Diddy is asserting as to why they should be found liable for defaming him, for lying on him. Is Diddy innocent? That's the theme of the live stream. Is Diddy innocent? I don't know if I'm convincing. Y'all got to tell me if y'all are convinced. Okay. Y'all, I'm going to struggle through this because the sickness is catching up to me quickly. Okay. Mr. Combs became famous for his extraordinary and historic achievements as a musician and music producer, hip-hop impresario, record label owner, fashion designer, path-breaking spirit entrepreneur, committed philanthropist, and cultural icon. Mr. Combs is among the most accomplished businessmen of his generation. In September 2024, Mr. Combs was indicted in the Southern District of New York on federal racketeering and sex trafficking charges. Mr. Combs entered a plea of not guilty in those charges on September 17, 2024, emphatically and unequivocally denies the charges against him and is preparing to contest the government's evidence, such as it is at trial beginning May 5th, 2025. I don't know if he's going to make it to contesting these allegations in May because of the superseded indictment, and also because he's too busy filing civil lawsuits. Focus on the discovery in your criminal trial. Stop opening up new lawsuits, okay? Mr. Combs has faith in the integrity of the judicial system and is confident the jury will acquit him. In or around December 10, 2024, defendant Apple informed Mr. Combs' representatives that it was producing a documentary not about the government's allegation against him, but rather regarding distinct allegations, including theories of his involvement in the deaths of Kim Porter and Christopher Wallace, and allegations of sex with underage girls. In response, Mr. Combs' representative told defendant Apple that those allegations were unequivocally false and amount to nothing more than unverified conspiracy theories. Mr. Combs' representative also pointed out that the allegations that have already been thoroughly debunked and lack any credible evidence. I don't know if anything has been thoroughly debunked. I don't think I've seen anything be thoroughly debunked, but he keeps saying this throughout the document, right? Undeterred by these warnings, on January 2nd, 2025, defendants Ample and NBCU released a trailer of the documentary. The trailer portrays Mr. Combs as a dangerous monster who threw sinister parties with underage girls and threatened to ship and sell women off to anyone. On January 8th and 9th of 2025, representatives of Mr. Combs sent letter informing defendants Ample and NBCU that the trailer included false and defamatory statements and urged them to take down the trailer and refrain from publishing the documentary. Defendants Ample and NBC did not respond. On or around January 13, 2025, defendants Ample and NBCU released the documentary to select press outlets to increase publicity prior to its release date. On January 14, 2024, defendant NBCU made the documentary publicly available for viewing on its streaming platform Peacock. Defendants NBCU and Apple also widely publicized the documentary to get as many streams as possible. In one interview with Hollywood Reporter, co-founder and defendant Ample and an executive producer of the documentary, Ari Mark, acknowledged that the documentary was a rush job because of competing documentaries on the same subject, saying there's no time and this was an extremely fast turnaround. The documentary includes numerous false and defamatory statements that defendants NBCU and Ample knew that were false or published with reckless disregard as to whether they were false or not. Indeed, the entire premise of the documentary assumes that Mr. Combs has committed numerous heinous crimes, including serial unaliving, R-word of minors, and sex trafficking of minors, and attempts to crudely psychologize him. It maliciously and baselessly jumps to the conclusion that Mr. Combs is a monster and the embodiment of Lucifer, with a lot of similarities to Jeffrey Epstein. In doing so, the documentary advances the following profoundly injurious false accusations. So let's get into the falsity. As you can see, when we're starting off, they are focusing on the underage intercourse. The essay of minors. They're focusing on that, and they're focusing on the fact that he's claiming he didn't alive 4 specific people. I think it's 4 specific people that he's going to claim that he didn't unalive. What about all the other people? What about all the other incidences? Okay. What about all of those people? What about those incidences? I would like to know. So, the documentary falsely, recklessly, and maliciously accuses Mr. Combs of unaliving Kimberly Porter, Christopher Wallace, Andre Harrell, Dwight Aring Myers, and attempting to unalive Albert Joseph Brown, aka Albie Shore. It shamelessly advances conspiracy theories that lack any foundation in reality, repeatedly insinuating that Mr. Combs is a serial unaliver because it cannot be a coincidence that multiple people in Combs' orbit have died. Miss Porter was Mr. Combs' romantic partner for over a decade and the mother of 4 of his children. She was, as he often described her publicly, the love of his life. In 2018, Miss Porter tragically died after a battle with complications from pneumonia. The Los Angeles coroner office confirmed that her death was a result of natural causes. The other thing that they're saying, he unalived Christopher Wallace, an American rapper and close friend of Mr. Combs, was killed by a drive-by shooting in 1997. There has never been a hint of evidence to suggest that Mr. Combs was involved in the tragic murder of his friend. Other person they're claiming he murdered, Andre Harrell, was a prominent music executive who died of heart failure in 2020. Again, more natural, like the pneumonia thing for Kim Porter. There has never been a hint of evidence to suggest that he was unalive, let alone that Mr. Combs was responsible for his death. Again, he's focusing on there's no evidence that we know of. Okay. Dwight Arrington Myers was an American rapper and producer who died of a pulmonary embolism in 2011. Again, something that they are saying is a natural cause. He could not have caused the pulmonary embolism, right? There has never been a hint of evidence to suggest that he was unalive, let alone that Mr. Combs was responsible for his death. Mr. Combs had a long-standing, deep personal relationship with Miss Porter, Mr. Wallace, Mr. Harrell, and Mr. Myers. He was heartbroken by their untimely deaths and a completely unfounded accusation that he unalived multiple of his closest confidants, and deeply distressing, offensive, reckless, and malicious. So he is hurt that they are saying that he would have the audacity to unalive people, when I think there is a lot of evidence of him yelling that he will unalive people. I could be speculating here, but I'm pretty sure there's footage of him basically boasting about his ability to unalive someone and get away with it. I could be wrong. Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure there's some videos out there like that. And yet, despite all evidence to the contrary, there's no evidence to the contrary. You're just saying that there's no evidence that you did it. Does that mean you didn't do it? No, it just means that you didn't leave back evidence or people haven't found the evidence yet. That doesn't mean that it didn't happen. Anyways, the defendants NBCU and Ample falsely accused Mr. Combs of being a serial unaliver. The documentary includes an interview with Albie Shore, who conclusively asserts that Miss Porter was unalive, adding, "Do I have to say allegedly?" He further falsely claims that before her death, Miss Porter was keeping a diary and was planning to reveal all, but that someone impliedly Mr. Combs found out that she was writing what was going on behind closed doors. Albie Shore asserts that a lot goes on in the industry and that those who speak about it usually meet their demise. He further falsely claims that Miss Porter is gone because she was going to be the next Cassie Ventura, by which he meant she was about to blow the lid off of the entire situation. Shore's statement that Mr. Combs unalived Miss Porter and that he did so to prevent Miss Porter from revealing information are false and defamatory. Defendants Ample and NBCU knew those statements were false and published them in a reckless disregard for the truth. So, a lot of these statements are going to be coming from Albie Shore, okay? And he's claiming that basically everything Albie Shore is saying is a lie. And if I'm not mistaken, Albie Shore is the actual dad to one of Diddy's kids, or to Kim Porter's other child, if I remember correctly. The documentary gives additional credence to those dangerous and damaging lies about Miss Porter's death. For example, it features commentary by an attorney, Ariel Mitchell, who rhetorically asks, "Who is dying from pneumonia? Seriously, pneumonia? And to die so quickly, notwithstanding the coroner's report to the contrary." Mitchell ridicules the idea that Miss Porter died of natural causes, saying, "People get pneumonia every day and don't die. That doesn't seem like a natural cause." But do you have any rebuttal, Diddy? No, you're just saying that she's just saying she's suspicious of it. If she's suspicious of it, does that mean it's a lie? No. They're not coming out and saying you did it, but they also said it's suspicious. I think people are allowed to say things are suspicious in documentaries. Otherwise, all the documentaries would be sued. I think this is another form of Diddy trying to litigate the case from behind bars in the media. Okay. In the documentary, Albie Shore also falsely claims that he is a witness in connection with legal proceedings surrounding Miss Porter's death, preventing him from elaborating in the interview. This is also false. How do you know, Diddy? How do you know that's false? There is no investigation into Miss Porter's death, which the Los Angeles coroner's office has deemed natural and caused by lobar pneumonia. By suggesting that law enforcement is investigating Miss Porter's death and that Albie Shore is a witness, defendants NBCU and Ample maliciously credit the false claim that Mr. Combs is being investigated for Miss Porter's death. Shore's statement that law enforcement is investigating Mr. Combs' involvement in Miss Porter's death are false and defamatory. Now, Diddy, there's this little thing that when prosecutors, especially in California, which is where I am, when they are investigating things, they don't always tell the person that they're investigating. And there's also this thing as where a coroner can find a cause of death and then another coroner can come back and reevaluate that and find that coroner was wrong. That there's those two things, right? They're not always going to tell you when they're investigating you. They're investigating you, okay? They don't want to put you on alert that you're being investigated until they have enough information. Kind of like when you got arrested in New York, right? You might be on your way to being arrested in California is what Albie Shore is basically insinuating here. Just because you go and ask, "Hey, are you investigating me?" They're not obliged to say, "Yes, I am investigating you." They do not have to do that, okay? And yes, I understand that you're going to rely on the coroner's report, But it doesn't mean that they're not going to pull in some other kind of witness to say that the initial coroner's report was false or that you paid off the coroner or whatever. So there's a couple things at play. You're relying on this evidence that could potentially be overturned by other evidence. And the question I would have is it because it's evidence that you created? So you're like, hey, look at this evidence that I know exists because I'm kind of behind it. Maybe I paid off the coroner. These are just speculations, right? Thoughts and ideas. Get our brains kind of going here, right? I don't know if that's actually true, but there might be evidence that come out of that. How would you know that they're investigating you? You don't always know, okay? So let's go ahead and jump back into it. Okay. Defendants Ample and NBC knew those statements were false and published them in a reckless disregard of their falsity. Again, it's not for sure that they knew they were false. Okay? At the time they published the documentary, defendant NBCU and Ample knew that Ms. Porter died from natural causes and that there was no support for Albie Shure's claim that she was unalived. Defendants NBCU and Ample also knew that Albie Shure, Ms. Porter's ex, before she started dating Mr. Combs, was an unreliable source, and that Albie Shure has long held a grudge against Mr. Combs. How did they know he was an unreliable source? He goes on to say, in an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Ari Mark, co-founder of Defendant Apple and an executive producer of the documentary, acknowledged Shure's weird, very kind of complicated relationship with Ms. Sean Combs. Yet Mark wanted his participation in the film because we think it will be a better film as a result, and asked for whatever you're comfortable sharing at this particular moment in time within the trajectory of the saga, betraying a total disregard for whether Shure's weird relationship with Mr. Combs might cause him to lie. Mark added, I think we really took off the pressure and said, let's just have a conversation. Let's sit down and see where this goes. I don't think that shows that they knew he was lying. And I don't think that even shows that he was lying. Just because you have a weird relationship with someone does not mean that they can't tell the truth when doing a documentary. So just the simple fact that he doesn't like Diddy doesn't mean that he's lying. I don't think that was a good correlation that Diddy's trying to make there. Y'all let me know if y'all agree or y'all don't agree. Do you think that Albie Shure is lying just because he doesn't like Diddy? I don't. In the documentary, Albie Shure also falsely claims that his own health problems were a result of an attempted unaliving perpetrated by Mr. Combs. He claims that Ms. Porter warned him, don't get involved, you will get killed, that she was putting her life in danger trying to save him, and that there were people implying Mr. Combs involved in the attempted unaliving of Albie Shure. The documentary maliciously advances the narrative, notwithstanding the fact that Albie Shure's medical problems were consistent with complications associated with his bariatric surgery, and that there is no support whatsoever for his baseless claims. You have his medical records? Did he? How did you get his medical records? Huh? His medical complications had to do with his bariatric surgery. What's your source? What's your source, Diddy? You're getting mad at them for not citing their sources. What is your source? That it was only related to his surgery and not something that maybe you spiked. This is all allegedly, right? Because they're accusing him of potentially giving people drugs to make them have natural looking deaths, right? What's your source? How'd you get his medical records? Oh, you don't have them? Then how are you making these statements? You shouldn't be. Okay? Shure's statements that Mr. Combs attempted to unalive him are false and defamatory. How? Tell us how you didn't try to unalive him. Tell him how you was never around him. Tell him how you didn't care about him. And that you wouldn't even try to do that. You don't even know how to do that. You're not telling us any of that. Defendants NBC and Ample knew those statements were false and published them with a reckless disregard to the truth. From there, the documentary advances an unhinged conspiracy theory that Mr. Combs is responsible for the deaths of Andre Harrell and Dwight Arrington Myers. In addition to Ms. Porter speculating that it would be too much of a coincidence that Harrell, Heavy D, and Kim Porter all died of natural causes. In an effort to tie these disparate events Together, the documentary falsely asserts that all three were poised to go public with some unspecified inside information, and they were unalived as a result, presumably by Mr. Combs. For example, Albie Sure states, this person was telling a story, this person was writing a book, this person was about to tell the truth about why is everybody dead? Oh, it's a coincidence? Question mark. Get the F out of here. Basically insinuating that Diddy is responsible for these people no longer being alive. And again, I've said on this channel multiple times, I don't put nothing past nobody, okay? Nothing past nobody. To further advance the false narrative, the documentary includes a clip from a YouTube interview with Jaguar Wright, a conspiracy theorist who skeptically points out that of 5 people who she says started Uptown Records, the only 2 people left are Puffy, I'll Be Sure, and Al almost died. She insinuates that both Harold and Heavy D did not actually die of heart attack, skeptically stating Heavy D was found dead, heart attack. Andre Harrell, heart attack. In a bizarre attempt to bolster this conspiracy theory, the documentary includes what appears to be internet comments to Jaguar's YouTube video topic, basically saying, yeah, you connected the dots. It does look suspicious, all of the things. The statements by Sure and Wright that Mr. Combs was responsible for the deaths of Miss Porter, Mr. Harrell, Mr. Myers, and the attempted murder of Sure are false and defamatory, and that defendants knew or had a reckless disregard that the statements were false and or defamatory, right? The documentary also advances the baseless conspiracy theory that Mr. Combs was involved in the death of Christopher Wallace, Biggie. It features an interview with Gene Dill, a former bodyguard who apparently worked for Mr. Combs between the mid-90s and 2000s. Dill, sorry y'all, my sickness is getting to me. Dill claimed that in the week in which Big was unalive, Mr. Combs was acting real anxious trying to get Big at this party. He further claimed that when Mr. Combs suggested going to the party that evening, Mr. Dill, the security guard, warned him, if we go to the party tonight, we are going to get killed. Somebody going to die. But Mr. Combs said, I don't want to hear that mess. The producer can be heard egging Dill on, asking, do you think that he had any involvement in... I love how he was egging him on. He just asked him a question. He asked him a question, and it's a documentary. So he asked him, do you think that he had any involvement with Big's death? Dill answered, did he directly have something to do with it? He could have. Again, these are speculations, right? These are thoughts. It could happen. Does not necessarily mean they're saying you did do it. So again, I don't think that's a strong argument. There has never been any evidence that Mr. Combs was involved in Biggie's death that we know of, sir. We know this was the 90s. Are we really going to find a paper trail of you planning the unaliving? Not saying he did it, but he just keeps going. There's no evidence. There's no evidence. The whole accusation against you, Diddy, is that you do things and you cover it up. So the fact that there is no evidence is very convenient for you. It's a coincidence, as they're saying. So just because no one found the evidence, because allegedly what these people are saying, you are good at what you're doing and covering things up, of course there's not going to be any evidence to help you out there. I think it's stupid. I think he should have waited. I don't think he should have filed this. And there's more, y'all. There's more that we have to go into on this. He is really upset that they are saying that he unalived these people. But let's look at the elephant in the room. What about all the essay that everyone's accusing you of? They talked about that in the documentary too. He didn't say they was lying about that. He didn't say that the girlfriends was lying about what he did to them. He didn't say the people that have lawsuits against him already were lying about what he did to them. But these ones are lies. The documentary is like 5 episodes long. And this is what you came up with that was lies? It's people saying that could have happened. I wouldn't be surprised. That's not defamatory. And remember, he's a celebrity, so we have to show actual malice. I don't know if that's defamatory, Diddy. I don't think it is. Yes, there's some insinuation, but it's like, I think he's lying. I think he's involved. How many times do we say that? Does that mean we're defaming someone? I don't know. I don't think so. Because there's no evidence. That's the accusation against you, Diddy. There's no evidence because you made sure there was no evidence. That is literally the accusation against you. Oh gosh. There has never been any evidence that Mr. Combs was involved in Biggie's death. The statement suggests that Mr. Combs was involved in Biggie's death are false and defamatory. Defendants knew that they were false and published it with a reckless disregard to their truth. By providing Dill with a platform for insinuating that Mr. Combs was responsible for the unaliving, defendants acted with malice and total disregard for the truth. But giving him a platform, that's what you're mad about? I think that's what you're mad about, is that they had a platform. False accusations about adult activities with minors. The documentary also falsely and maliciously assert that Mr. Combs was having adult relations with minors and was sex trafficking, or ST, we're going to call it, underage girls. In particular, the documentary features an interview with an anonymized, why can't I say that, subject who appears with his image blacked out and his voice distorted. In the documentary, this unidentified interviewee claimed that while he was employed by Mr. Combs, he was sent on missions to go to clubs and recruit some girls and bring them back to the house. But do we think this is Rodney Jones, y'all? This anonymous interviewee? Is this who he thinks it is? But that he didn't know what the real intention was, falsely implying that there was foul play involved. He further falsely claimed that Mr. Combs was effing and making love to girls who were for sure underage. The documentary then quotes to a portion of an unidentified legal document that states, present at this party, W, underage girls. So basically there were underage girls at the party, and I believe that was in Rodney Jones's lawsuit that he filed. Okay. The documentary falsely implies that this unidentified document is corroboration. In fact, it is a copy of a civil complaint. Yep, I forgot that they wrote it in there. A civil complaint brought by Rodney Jones against Mr. Combs containing the same false allegations and seeking $30 million in purported damages. The documentary does not include, however, the fact that those allegations about minors have been thoroughly discredited. After Jones filed his lawsuit, which identified the allegedly underage females, those adult women in their 30s came forward to say that they were not underage at the time and that they never witnessed anything untoward happened at those parties, including the red lit party house featured in the documentary. That is also interesting because these people came forward and saying that they were not underage. But my question is, how do you know they were talking to you about you? How do you know they were talking about you? These 30-year-old women. How do you know it wasn't a different time or what? You think you're the only one that Diddy goes in rooms with? Even if they are telling the truth, right? I don't know if that clears you, Diddy. And a lot of allegations are that you paying people to make your own evidence. So again, I don't think this clears Diddy. I think this is going to make it worse for him. Like I said, this is either his best move or his worst move. I think this is going to make it worse for him. Let's see what else they got to say. Jones' statement that Mr. Combs had sex ST'd underage girls are false and defamatory, and the defendants knew that they were false or had a reckless disregard to it. False accusations about the existence of sexually explicit videos of Mr. Combs with minors and celebrities. In the documentary, defendants Ample and NBCU also maliciously claim that there are flash drives of sex tapes with 8 distinct individuals, including 8 A-list celebrities, and Diddy all engaged in sex. The documentary features claim by an attorney, Ariel Mitchell, that her client, Courtney Burgess, I think that's how you say it, possesses the videos. Courtney Burgess has been described as a one-time industry bit player and a fringe character. In recent months, seeking to capitalize on the media's insatiable appetite for celebrity scandal, Burgess has gone to great lengths to invent and publicize outrageous falsehoods about Mr. Combs. In media interviews, Burgess, I hope I'm saying that right, claims he has worked in the music industry for decades, but he has no public record of any professional achievement, and he left no detectable footprint on the industry prior to his recent campaign to malign Mr. Combs. His malicious conduct which according to the New York Times has only amped up the circus-like frenzy surrounding Mr. Combs' case, is intended to garner public publicity for profit from the attention surrounding Mr. Combs' legal proceedings. Burgess has never met Mr. Combs and has never had any relationship with anyone in Mr. Combs' family. Nevertheless, Burgess has claimed on multiple occasions that Kim Porter provided him with a copy of her memoir and videos depicting Mr. Combs as inebriated celebrities and minors. Those close to Miss Porter, including her children and her roommate of over 20 years, had never heard of Mr. Burgess before he made the utterly implausible and completely false claims. Now, while that can be evidence that he is lying, it can also be evidence that she was talking to him without telling anybody. She's grown. So do you know everybody that your ex talks to? Probably not. Probably not, right? Despite Burgess' inconsistent and implausible accounts, defendants Ample and the BCU chose to air his false claims through his attorney, Ariel Mitchell, who repeated Mr. Burgess' lies and that Miss Burgess possessed the videos depicting Mr. Combs' and celebrities and minors. The documentary includes Mitchell's false accusations that Mr. Combs used these purported recordings to advance his influence and his power and threatened to take this to your wife, take this to your husband, take this to the public, and I'll ruin you if you don't do it for me. He's not the first one that's accusing you of this, though. So they're going to go in, they're going to get witnesses. They're going to go and they're going to get witnesses that are going to be able to corroborate at least some of this. Okay? I don't think this is a smart move, Diddy. I really don't. Defendant NBCU and Ample knew or had a reckless disregard that Burgess did not possess such videos because they did not view any such videos themselves, nor did they obtain any further evidence of their existence. Indeed, they could not have, since such videos do not exist. I can get where you're going with that, Diddy, but also if they show it to them, the producers, that can classify for revenge porn because you're showing it to other people, third parties. So it's a very slippery slope when you're asking these journalists. I know journalists have to fact check, right? They can't put things out that are false, but also people that are in possession of these type of videos, if they show it, you're on the hook for revenge porn, showing it to a third party without permission. So there's that as well. Moreover, defendants NBCU and Ample knew that Mitchell was a wholly unreliable character, as would have been reflected in a simple Google search. Mitchell had previously made ridiculous claims that research indicated that baby oil can be used as a conduit for transmitting drugs mixed into oil to another person for the purpose of incapacitating them. How do you know she didn't research that? Mitchell was previously accused of bribing a witness to change her testimony to corroborate claims filed by Mitchell. And Mitchell has a history of filing frivolous claims and then withdrawing from the lawsuit when the lies come to light. That would be interesting to look into. I don't know anything about that. In truth, there are no such videos. There never were any such videos. Mitchell and Burgess are the source of these vile rumors, and defendants NBCU and Ample are responsible for maliciously perpetrating them. I think he's going down a slippery slope. Because if they come out with these videos, sir, what are you going to do? What are you going to do if they come out with it? What are you going to do? Because you're saying they don't exist and they never existed. They might have something for you. Though y'all know they got AI too. So AI is a thing. They shouldn't use AI in court. You can't do that, but I'm just saying. The statements, or I'm just saying, but remember when Diddy said he didn't drag Cassie down the hallway? And then a video came out about him dragging Cassie down the hallway? And like, did that slip his mind? Saying, oh, the video doesn't exist because remember you paid them $50,000 to get rid of it and it wasn't gotten rid of. So you coming out and saying there is no video, no video. Sir, we don't believe you. You already said that. What was that, a year and a half ago? You said there was no video and then boom, there was a video. I don't think this is a smart move for him. I don't think he should have filed this lawsuit. I think he should have waited. I understand the statute of limitations, but I think he should have waited. Because you already told us you didn't do something. And then the videos came out that you did it. Okay? So slippery slope. Slippery slope, I'm telling you. The statements in the documentary that such videos exist and were used as blackmail are false and defamatory, and that the defendants knew they were false and defamatory. Defendant's malicious life has materially injured Combs. So he said he'd been in jail, but although he's been in jail, he has a successful career, and this is causing him economic harm. Sir, Diddy, I don't think this documentary is what's causing you harm. I think all the lawsuits that were filed and have litigation privilege, I think those are what is causing you harm. He also has concern with that the documentary is being displayed and potentially watched by people that could be juries on his criminal trial. That is a real concern. But also, I don't think the documentary alone, I personally haven't even watched the documentary. I don't want to watch it. I got the lawsuits. What do I need to watch this documentary for when I have the lawsuits? Okay, there's so much more information in the lawsuits than we're going to get from these documentaries. Maybe I'll watch it at some point, but I want to wait and see how everything else plays out. But I don't think this documentary is what's causing you harm to your reputation. I think the lawsuits are what's causing you harm to your reputation. I think the fact that you came out and told us you didn't beat Cassie, and then there was a video of you dragging the girl down the hallway, tossing her around, throwing stuff at her, kicking at her. I think that ruined your reputation. I think you being involved in that shooting at the club that time ruined your reputation. I think there's a whole lot of things besides this documentary, which, remember, this documentary came out after how many lawsuits was filed against Diddy? A lot. A lot of lawsuits was already filed against Diddy by the time this documentary came out. And to tell you the truth, from the people that have been talking about the documentary, you want to focus on these conspiracies that you were involved in the death of these people. Remember, that was the longest part of this complaint. Y'all, we done with the complaint, y'all. That was the end of it. Cause of action, defamation. They're lying. They're causing him damages. That was the end. He's asking for $100 million. $100 million, sir. You didn't lose no money. You behind bars. Nobody was signing you to anything. Okay? You're behind bars. So I don't think you're going to be able to prove your $100 million. Remember Johnny Depp? He couldn't even prove his $40 million and he's still acting. You're not producing music, or you shouldn't be producing music from behind bars, sir. Shouldn't be selling tequila. I think you also lost that brand deal, didn't you? All the things. Or the contract. I don't think it was a brand deal. It was a contract. So I don't think you're going to be able to prove your $100 million worth of damages. Maybe you're trying to get some more money to put that bail up in the criminal case. But with the superseding indictment, I don't think you're getting out, sir. But yeah, this documentary is not what I think ruined Diddy's reputation. I think there's a lot more going on, Diddy, that you should be worried about. I also think you should be focused on the evidence in your criminal case and not be suing people right now. Because what's going to happen? You're going to try to claim Fifth Amendment protection before bringing this one to court? Make it make sense. And my thing is, like, is this lawsuit going to be what triggers everybody throwing their evidence out there? This is not evidence that he did do these things. And honestly, I don't know if any of this is going to even qualify for defamation. Yes, there's some insinuation, which you can get defamation for insinuating things. I think what also happens here is potential anti-SLAPP. This is filed in New York. There's anti-SLAPP in New York. This is a matter of public concern. This is creativity. This is telling a story. It's artistic. Freedom of speech, freedom of artistic, freedom of art, freedom of journalism. They don't have to tell their sources. They don't have to give up their evidence of what they use. They're protected by the First Amendment under that, or the right to media, right? So I don't think this was a good move. I'm going to stop it right there. I don't think this was a good move for Diddy. I think it's going to bring out more information than he wants to come out. Y'all let me know what y'all think. If you're alive, if you're watching on the replay, thank y'all for bearing with me. It was a struggle getting through it. I can't breathe. I can't read. But thank y'all for getting through that with me. We only had a couple of chats come through while I was reading that. So we have this lawsuit claiming defamation for unaliving people, for SA to minors, and for having videos of him having sex with celebrities and minors without permission, potentially while they're intoxicated. I'm assuming that's probably come into play. And he's saying that it hurt his reputation. I don't think you have damages, buddy. Your reputation was already hurt. I'm sorry. Destined to be, welcome in. Moderator of the channel saying, hey, Bree, I'm listening while I get some work done. Welcome in. Nice to have you in. Wayne Norman Esquire, hello, fellow attorney, says they never do. I don't know. I don't remember exactly what you were referring to there. Wayne also says, quash, not overturn. I don't remember what I was talking about. Sorry. Destined to be. Oh, I think you were talking about the coroner's report. Is it quashed? Supersedes it? I don't know. I don't know. You're probably right. Destined to be says, I haven't watched the documentary. Is it still up? I haven't looked if it's still up. I think it is. Normally they don't take it down. There hasn't been an injunction, so it should still be up. Wayne thinks that NBC will settle. I don't think so. I don't think so. Because we have that heightened standard, heightened burden of proof. They made it with actual malice. I don't think they can prove the actual malice because people were giving their thoughts. This is what I think happened. When you have qualifying opinions, are these going to fall into qualifying opinions like the Meghan Markle case did? I don't think they're going to settle. Actual malice is hard to prove. He's going to need some concrete evidence. Cardi B won because Tasha K was on the internet talking about, yeah, I lied. I knew I lied, but I knew I would sell more on my YouTube if I said it, right? Actual malice for a celebrity is hard. Destined to Be says Al B has been saying those things about Diddy for years. It's nothing new. He never sued Al B before. Exactly. If it was false then, why didn't you sue him before? Why didn't you? These rumors have been going on. This is their thoughts. This is their thoughts. Their opinions about what happened to their friends. I agree, Tanya. Why haven't you sued them before? Sorry, y'all. My nose is stuffy. Why didn't you sue them before? Wayne says it doesn't clear him of the criminal allegations, but in my opinion, it was careless for NBC to run that doc. They should have known Diddy was going to respond with the suit. I agree that they should have known Diddy would respond with a suit, but also if I was Diddy attorney, I would tell him to sit this one out. Just let it be. Like Tiny, these allegations have been going on for years. Doesn't mean that people believe them. Maybe some people will, but is that going to put him behind bars? No. Again, I don't think he wins on the $100 million. I don't think they ruined his reputation. But I don't think they were careless because I think a lot of it is going to qualify as opinion. I don't think he's going to be able to prove actual malice. Like the stuff of him saying, oh, there is no criminal investigation. How do you know? You don't know. He doesn't know. Right? So all those things come into play. Crystal Harris says live in the hi. Hello and welcome in. Nice to have you in. And then we got Wayne Norman saying, what journalism fact check? LOL. Okay, yeah, no. They probably did it. Like I said, it was a fast turnaround. And that's probably Diddy's best defense is that, or not his, excuse me, his best claim is that they did this so fast, they didn't have time to fact check. So they made a reckless disregard as to whether it was true or false. But people that are close to him or work close to him or close to these people that he's claiming he did these things to, I don't think they're going to qualify. Not qualify. What do you call it? 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 I lost my train of thought, y'all. My brain is going out. And I'm trying to think. Well, they had the control of putting it out there in the documentary in the order that they put it out there in. So yeah, they could probably be liable for what the third parties are saying. Another interesting, based on what Tiny D said as well, another interesting thing that he didn't do is he didn't sue Al B. Sure. He only sued the production companies, deep pockets, right? We're trying to get them funds up for that criminal case or what, right? Maybe they'll settle with me because I just gave Cassie $30 million. He didn't sue him. If he's the one making the he's the one making the statements. He should be listed as a defendant as well. I don't think he's that serious in suing them. I don't think he wins here. And he didn't even put like John Doe's or anything to add people on later. He's still, like Tiny D said, why he didn't sue Al years ago. He ain't even suing him now. He's only suing NBC, you and Peacock and Apple Entertainment. So I don't think they settle. I think Diddy gonna run out of money. All these civil lawsuits shoot against him, and now he's filing his own civil lawsuits. I don't know. Y'all, that's all I have for tonight. I am planning on streaming tomorrow and doing some Reddit stories, and there's some other lawsuits that I want to cover a little bit later on in the week. But depending on how this sickness goes for the next few days, I will keep y'all posted. I don't want to take time off of streaming again because I already missed 2 weeks this year, which is bad because the year just started. But I can barely breathe. I can barely talk. Tiny D saying his trial is in May. Will this be done before then? I don't think so. He's going to have to get them served, and there's a discovery process. And it's not the same thing as a criminal trial where you have the right to a speedy trial. So no, civil cases usually are going to take years and years and years and years. And I don't even think Diddy is really going to want this to go through fast because, like I said, he's putting himself at risk of testifying to stuff that could be used against him in the criminal trial. Maybe it is a situation where they're hoping to settle. I think he's going to push this. They're going to have settlement conferences. They're going to have all kinds of things to try to get this thing resolved. It probably, in my opinion, will be dropped. But no, I don't think that this will be done before May unless they come to some type of agreement and they decide to drop it. But I think that this is another attempt for Diddy to litigate stuff in the to litigate things in the media. He files a lawsuit. So Birdie tells a little birdie that Diddy filed a lawsuit. And then all of a sudden, everyone on the internet is covering this lawsuit, saying, hey, no, they're lying on Diddy. Do we believe him? Probably not. Just because Diddy said it, I don't believe it. That's just my position on everything. Until all this stuff is resolved in the criminal court and everything else, I don't believe him. A$AP Rocky just finished his criminal trial, and we saw he didn't get convicted. I'm sorry if I ruined the verdict for anyone, but he didn't get convicted. They couldn't prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. And Diddy's trying to cause all these distractions for his beyond a reasonable doubt. Well, I'm not going to get a fair jury because they put a documentary out about me. Dude, they've already been saying these things about you. Like, none of the stuff that I read in this complaint was something new. And I did not at all watch the documentary. Now, my husband didn't have it on the TV and I walked past it. I didn't hear none of this stuff on there, right? It was like some new girlfriend that popped up. I was like, who the heck is she? And then I saw that one of the people who had filed a lawsuit that we've covered on this channel, I saw that they were on there. Maybe like 5 minutes of the documentary is what I've seen. And it's 5 episodes, and I think they're like an hour long each. So him saying that they defamed him and all this stuff, I've heard all of this, okay? All of it. And I haven't watched the documentary. So for you not to sue someone previously, like Tanya D said, or Destined to Be said, yeah, I think you're the problem, not the documentary. You never rebutted it before. So why would we think it's not true? I think that's a good defense. Anyways, y'all, I am going to try to cover more things on the internet this week. But like I said, this is my first day being sick, so I don't know exactly how bad it's going to be. I'm taking medicine and hopefully I get better. But I plan on doing Reddit reads tomorrow, which I should be able to get through, even if I'm sick. And then I have, like I said, some new lawsuits that I don't see anybody covering, and some that have already resolved, but just kind of doing a deep dive on older lawsuits that have come into play. And that's the plan for the rest of the week. I'll let y'all know if anything changes. So keep a lookout on the community tab. Thank you everyone that joined me live today. And please do hit the like button if you haven't already and you made it this late into the stream, or on the replay if you are part of the replay crew. I will see y'all all on the next live stream. Like I said, keep a lookout on the community tab because I will let y'all know there if we're going to make it through the sickness. I will see y'all all on the next one. Bye.